be a few minutes late.
He's coming.
We were done already, 9:38. East Line Health Mobile Home Unit presentation. I guess we're gonna have to go with Greenhouse and Jamesport and the rest of that. Probably.
Oh, first we're gonna do,
Yeah, we're just gonna switch it up. Wait for the green light. Yeah,
don't forget the pledge.
I know.
There's a couple things about, the first thing I'm gonna bring up, and I won't bring it up in work session because it's not on the agenda, but I'm gonna come to your meeting, your first meeting of the downtown revitalization. I've had some pushback from businesses down on Main Street.
Oh, about the
About
sandwich signs?
Right, I think,
Yeah.
I don't think that should be the first downtown committee. You can bring it up here if you want, Jim.
okay, I just think we should really look
Yeah,
at the
you can bring,
district that maybe.
this is, you would bring it up here, that's
Okay.
fine, we can add. Hi, good morning, we're starting today's work session for May 17th, 2018. If we could start and stand with for the pledge. Tim?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Diane. Diane gets an awful lot of liberty and justice.
Yeah, I didn't like that, my grandma.
Well, welcome to today's work session. Our first item is Baseline Health Mobile Unit home presentation. We are going to hold on that. Ms. Giglio is just running a few minutes late, so we will wait on that and start with our special permits. So our first special permit will be glass greenhouse. So if you'd like to come up. Just we ask that you do introduce yourselves because we do film, so the audience knows. So come on, have a seat. Yeah.
Good morning, Jarrett Weber, Weber Law Group, attorney for the applicant. I have your Walter Gableson with me.
Hi, good morning. And then Greg Berman from our planning department. All right. Greg, would you like to?
Yeah, I'll kick it off. So the planning department has received and reviewed a special permit application, which is proposing to install tables and chairs, which would create a 225 square foot bistro with 15 seats within an existing 5,000 square foot building. The existing 5,000 square foot building is used currently as a farm stand, identified as a glass greenhouse. Is located at 1350 Main Road in Jamesport within the rural corridor. Pursuant to town code, bistros are especially permitted use within the RLC zoning district. It's noted that the town currently has pending litigation against the property owner, as the site is currently operating in a manner which exceeds the town code definition of a farm stand. During a staff visit conducted in mid-2016, the farm stand was found to be selling a number of goods which were not regionally produced or produced on site. I found some from Massachusetts, Italy, for example.
And that was done when?
That was done late 2016. I had to do some health department work, we've got plans, and now we're here. The bistro is being proposed in an area that's located in the rear of the existing structure. It's unclear if the intention for the proposed bistro is in an attempt to ameliorate some of the problems with what they're selling on site, or if it's going to exacerbate the problem. So that's one thing that the town board needs to take into consideration when considering the approval of the special permit. The site is located, as I said, at 1350 Main Road in Jamesport. It's on the north side of 25, approximately 500 feet west of Washington Avenue. The site is improved with a two-story frame, 5,000 square foot farm stand, and approximately 144,000 square feet of greenhousing.
Where, the whole property is in the rural corridor zone?
The property is split zoned. I believe the front 500 feet of the property is located within the RLC, and the rear remainder of the property is zoned agricultural protection zone.
Okay.
So just a little background on the site. On March 1st, 2012, the Riverhead Planning Board granted approval under Resolution 2012-23 for a site plan to construct a 5,000 square foot building on the premises to be used as a farm stand. In page 3 of the staff report, I won't read the whole definition, but it gives a definition of the farm stand operation as defined by town code. The SECR, Jeff Seaman reviewed the SECR application. It's considered to be a type 2 action pursuant to SECR with no further environmental review required. Just a quick detail on the parking. I did review the site plan. The site plan is proposing a total of 94 spaces, including 9 land-based stalls, which is compliant with the town code requirement for parking. However, the plan does show that the spaces are 9 by 18, which does not comply with the 10 by 20 required by the town code. It was noted that during the review of the farm stand process, the parking spaces in the lot were not physically delineated or shown in the plan. When you're reviewing a farm stand application, they don't necessarily have to be shown in the plan, they just have to show that they have sufficient size.
So they striped out, you mean?
Yeah,
Okay.
they were not shown striped out on the original plan, they just showed a large parking area.
Okay.
Approvals of this application will require approvals from Suffolk County Department of Health Services, both their Office of Wastewater Management as well as the Food Control Unit for the installation and operation of the proposed bistro. We'll go through a couple of the items to be considered by the reviewing board. Site is particularly suitable for the location of such in the community, being that there's no additional site work being proposed. The installation of a bistro within an existing structure would not be expected to have any real detriment to the community. It could serve as a destination for tourists visiting the North Fork Wine Trail to get a fresh prepared meal. The plot area is sufficient. The parking area complies with all requirements of the town code, and the 225 square foot bistro only represents 4.4% of the total square footage of the building. The character of the proposed use is not out of character with the area, with the surrounding area, and it's not unreasonably close to any churches, schools, or theaters. The site will be using the existing access from 25.
Is there, there's no alcohol on site, no intention for alcohol on site?
Bistro,
Right?
What's that?
For the bistro, you would probably want to serve alcohol, yes?
It's more family orientated.
Okay,
It's, if they get, drunk or anything like that, I don't like that.
okay,
So it's more for, families and stuff.
okay, so you're not gonna be serving any alcohol there, okay?
Iced tea, lemonade, okay.
One of the sections, letter G, deals with off-street parking and truck loading spaces. So there was no indication of the type of menu that the bistro is gonna be serving, but consideration should be given to the amount of quantities of food which will be brought onto the premises. And as such, what will the method of delivery be? Is there gonna be a loading area in the back? Are they just gonna drive the truck up to the front and make their deliveries in the front? If there's gonna be a significant increase in truck deliveries, staff recommends that a construction of a loading and offloading area in the rear of the building might be considered just to screen it from the view of the road, keep it away from the neighbors. There's no proposals for any additional buffers, but it seems that the existing buffers and the landscaping on site are appropriate to screen from the surrounding area. Existing sanitary system will need to be reviewed, as I said, by the Suffolk County Department of Health Services Wastewater Management Office for the increase in design flow from the addition of the bistro. The use is not really expected to accumulate any additional environmental pollution, aside from perhaps an increase in solid waste refuse, which I recommended that the applicant provide a dumpster screen pursuant to town code. The glass greenhouse, in regards to the hours of the operation, Glass Greenhouse indicates on its website that it currently operates 7 days a week from 9 AM to 6 PM. It does not indicate on the plan if they're intending to change the hours. If they do intend to change the hours, they will need to adhere to the town code requirements with regards to operating a business within the RLC.
What are the hours in the RS?
I didn't note that in the report, but I can find out.
So, but my question is how does RLC pertain to them? This, where they wanna put this is not in the RLC, correct?
It is.
The 500
The
feet
front
over-
500 feet, it's within that RLC, so the physical building is
Is
located.
Okay, thank you.
Again, letter O, it just talks about special conditions and considerations. The biggest thing I believe here is the ongoing litigation with the property owner, and to determine if this will ameliorate or exacerbate the problem.
That's the question.
That's the question,
Well,
that's the.
I'm kind of confused here. So we're looking at this under RLC zoning, or we're looking at this as a farm stand?
Well, and that's,
The farm stand, I can't figure this
I
out.
mean, it is considered a farm stand. The property is located within an agricultural district, so it is paying agricultural taxes, but they are attempting to apply for the special permit under the RLC zoning.
So they want you want RLC zoning, but for farm stand in
We're in
ag?
the RLC zoning, the building. The original permits, site plans, everything was for farm market. We predated the farm stand, by like 3 years. Farm stand came much later. The farm
Well,
market.
there was farm stand, they just updated the code, right? There was a
Yeah.
farm stand code in place at the time, correct?
Well, we're in the agricultural district number 7, and we did, ag and markets have a definition for farm market, which is a bigger building for year-round. And they differentiate it from a farm stand, which is just something that someone puts out.
So you're a
seasonal,
farm market
according to
in-
agricultural markets.
in
And if
the-
I, and if I may, I'm sorry to interrupt. The initial, everything, the approvals were under farm market. Now, this was prior to.
But farm market as being permissible in the rural corridor?
Yeah, farm
Oh,
market.
that's what I'm wondering.
Farm market in that what he was going to grow on the property, he was going to sell, so he would meet the 60/40. And then when an inspection was done, it was determined that he had more product that was being brought in from the outside than what was being grown on the farm.
So a farm market, a farm market has to meet, a farm market has to meet the same threshold as a farm stand, as far as what's grown there and what's,
You know, farm market is year-round.
okay, so the only difference is that it's year-round, but other than that, it's the same requirements as a farm
Pretty- yes,
stand?
pretty
Okay, that's, okay.
How many acres in total do you have here, Walter?
14.
14. And you said that you were in an ag district, are you getting an ag assessment?
Yeah, agricultural district number 7.
Okay,
Yeah, the Suffolk County Ag District.
right, but are you currently getting an ag assessment from our assessor's office?
Yeah.
And you're familiar with the penalties if you
Yeah.
take part of the building out of the ag assessment?
Is this for me or-
Oh, these are, I can make
Okay,
copies for
yes.
it.
Okay. Okay, great, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, that's really all I've got in my staff report. Again, I think the biggest issue that needs to be, worked through is the litigation. In terms of the operation of the bistro, aside from any kind of penalties or taking it out of an agricultural assessment, to have this commercial operation saying, farmer taxes, that needs to be addressed, but I think the litigation is the outstanding issue.
Right,
So-
well, and that's
so-
something we have to discuss as a board, I think.
So the 60/40, so the 60% has to be grown on the 14 acres there?
60% grown on site, 40% can be regional, and I believe.
I'm sorry, 60%?
60% has to be grown on the site,
Uh-huh,
and the 40% has to be regionally grown.
and that's that 250 miles
Yeah,
within the,
Radius, yes.
okay.
So it's like if you have the mums, then you wanna bring in the, tin that has the pumpkin face on it, that would be part of the 40%, but the mums would be part of.
I think they're exempt, I think like the
They are,
tchotchke stuff is
yeah,
exempt, it
from
doesn't
what
have
I
to do with the
understand.
40%,
Correct.
yeah.
It would be
Well,
more of the
I thought it
consumable
was
product, not the.
Contributed to it.
We have the greenhouses there. In November, it's too expensive to heat, so we moved product into the farm market. That's why it's so big. All the poinsettias, cyclamen, Norfolk pines, all the green stuff. It's easy to heat in there, so we have benches in there with all the plants. So it's dual purpose.
But I think the 60% is supposed to be year-round.
Well, if you want to put all my product, it's probably 97% my product, 3% others.
In the farm, in the
And the whole-
actual farm, in the farm market.
No, I believe his argument is he's looking at his entire property.
See, it's all one
achieve the
business, the
90%.
entire property. It's just we're selling from 2 buildings.
But again, that's, part of the ongoing
Right.
litigation.
Okay, and it's one parcel, correct?
Correct.
Before we get into the litigation, I'd like to just address the concerns that were raised in the planning memo. I have an updated plan here. The parking spaces were, there was an older plan that was, so now they are 10 by 20. So that meets the code. Here you,
So was it able to be done in the existing space? You didn't have to expand the parking lot?
They
at all
were,
to
they
get
were
that?
done prior to, you were based, they were expanded prior to when we first spoke. You were working on, an older plan prior, and they were expanded. Here we have an enclosed.
I just wanted to be
Yes.
clear, so we have the appropriate number of spaces
Yes,
at,
and
at,
the 10 by 20.
At the
okay,
appropriate
at.
size.
Without expanding.
Without, okay,
Correct.
that's what I wanna know, okay, so you
Correct.
met the
It's the
parking.
same number of spaces you said earlier?
94.
Yes.
94?
94 with
94.
nine.
Okay,
land
94,
banks.
but 10 by 20.
Yes, and there's a key and the same land bank and the same handicap. You have the, enclosed refuse area, which is now on the plan.
Proposed or existing?
Proposed.
Proposed, all right.
And then you have, the method of delivery would be 2 box trucks, once a week. So in terms of heavy traffic, I don't believe that should be of a concern. And then in terms of,
They had also, there's a loading, unloading spot,
It's behind the building?
yes.
So that's
Not
where you would,
building.
that's where you would take the box truck deliveries?
Yeah.
Okay.
yes. Now, from the planning standpoint, I don't believe there are any other outstanding issues.
It's really the interior work that's being proposed, there's no site work. So yeah, the site plan issues are really, as long as we address the parking and the refuse.
Right, and these new plans will be obviously submitted. Okay,
What's the impervious surface coverage and the lot coverage?
Let's see if I have that.
I wanted to see
Oh.
where the bistro is
Oh,
actually going
sure.
to be added.
sure. I don't wanna put it the right way for you.
Probably northeast corner.
The bistro is gonna be located here.
It's just a back room in there, that little
Correct.
back room?
Correct.
It's a back room that you have there now.
Correct. The bistro is gonna be located here. It's gonna be deli fare, homemade sandwiches, from product, soups that are gonna be served here, and it's going to be, plastics, disposables, utilized for any of the customers.
Basically, it's soup, salads, and sandwiches, disposable, no table service, and,
This
that's
is the
it.
greenhouse.
A lot of people just, they don't wanna stop at McDonald's, they don't wanna go to
Those
a
are all
restaurant,
greenhouses.
just take something quick.
This is the
Councilwoman
existing
Giglio, just to
building.
address your question, the plan doesn't indicate it indicates lot coverage at 37.5% and floor area ratio at 38.8%. But I
But
don't, it
doesn't
doesn't
include
it doesn't
the
clearly,
parking
it doesn't
area.
clearly define impervious
And
coverage.
what's the maximum permitted in the zone for the impervious surface and the lot coverage?
I would have to look that up.
Rural corridor and APC.
Oh, Ray, you're spitting that right off the top of your head, man.
Corwin's misspelled.
Well, the only question I have is for Secra. If we're taking this as a type 2 action, I mean, should this not be an unlisted action where we define what the 60-40% is? Because this is allowing the bistro in the market, but if you're not meeting the 60-40 that we're requesting, I think that should be part of the secret.
I mean, I can definitely run that by Jeff Seaman, if he's out of town, I can definitely.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, by the way, I was remiss to do this. This is the, stamp for the Suffolk County, Department of Health approval, which,
What is that for? It says bistro?
yes, for, it's for, takeout restaurant, which is,
But you're doing sit-down, correct?
well,
The
it,
takeout restaurant, maximum 16 seats.
right, it covers 16 seats, which is proposed. With regard to your chief question, and again, I believe everything is adequately addressed, and we can, touch on the, and I wanna get into the litigation and how I think this application along with, other issues can all be solved in one. With the secret determination, the 60-40, that goes to the agricultural, requirement for a farm stand. I just don't see how that's would be part of this secret necessarily.
Because it has an impact, because you're asking to put a bistro into the farm market. And so it would be what kind of impact is that gonna have? Are you gonna change from the 60/40? If you're bringing in deli sandwiches and salads and things like that, is that going to change the makeup of it? So I think it begs the question, are you gonna change from the 60/40, and how is that monitored, or how do we get a handle on what's happening with this project?
Well, it's gonna be homemade soup, salads, and sandwiches from, Mr. Gableson is very aware of the 250-mile radius from Connecticut to, I believe, Canada, which is quite a range. And I believe that Mr. Gableson is gonna speak to what's in the shop now, that really, we're in compliant right now, and with this bistro space, number one, it takes away certain shelving, so the necessity to fill that space is no longer there. But again, everything's gonna be from the stand itself or within that range, and we fully intend to comply with that. Now,
Well,
again,
that's what the question with secret would be, is how are you meeting that and complying with that? That's the questions that, would like to see answered.
okay,
Complying,
with the 60/40.
As far as the farm market.
yeah.
So is the bistro going to be a separate space where
Yeah,
you'll?
it's a separate room in the back.
Okay, so
It's
how do
not
you
in the-
access that room? Because that's,
There's a big open.
You used to have your
It's like
fruits and
on the
vegetables
north-
back there, right?
Yeah.
That's where you had the
on the
fruits and vegetable
northeast
bins in the back
part
there.
of the,
Right.
So that was part of the local.
It's out of the way
Right.
of the main building.
right, but as he makes the farm market smaller, then, I mean,
Well,
it
the
doesn't
farm market
really.
isn't getting smaller, right?
No, nothing is, it's not getting smaller, where you're gonna have I haven't been in there in a while, but, when you walk in, you have the space in the back where the seats will be. You're going to have, there's counter space and again, that where the deli will be, and then the kitchen's on their side. It's not getting physically smaller, we're not cutting off any sort
No,
of
but
space.
display space and, where there was an
Exactly.
argument that you were oversized would be reduced because of
Right.
this extra use.
Right, but again, in terms of compliance with the 60/40, you're gonna have reduced display, which means that the empty space is not, regardless of whether or not it was filled with, permissible merchandise or not, you're going to have less space in order to do it, and that's part of how this ameliorates the issue with the litigation.
Well, a lot of the shelf space too is also product that you were bringing in from elsewhere, whereas the refrigerated case was stuff that was local. So, I mean, we'll enforce the 60/40 just as we do for any farm stand and farm market, I'd imagine, to make
That would
sure
be
that the
right.
60% is brought in, so,
But the
I mean,
space is getting
60%.
subtracted. Your theory is that this space is getting subtracted from the market itself, so the 60/40 becomes less of an issue, because your
Right.
60% has to be less, because you're taking this space out of the market.
right,
Yeah.
that's.
Does that-
the issue with the
It's still
60
square footage.
Yeah, well, the issue with the 60/40 is it's not really defined as square footage, it's like,
Right.
it raises the question, is it out of a year, how much, does it go by the amount of goods,
10,000
the
or
number of?
50,000,
Yeah,
how much you
the
sold.
amount, the number, it's
Well,
a
that's
little
what I would
murky.
like, that's why I say for secret, to
Right.
figure out what it is
try to
that's,
get a
and so that
definition
you
and
are
have that
clear
be-
and know, so that you can be in compliance with what's required. I think it kind of, defines exactly what we're looking for, it defines exactly what you're doing, and then the conversation, can be had, how do you get in compliance with this? Because I think it's an ongoing question for a long time that we'd like to get settled,
Correct.
and this, because it's hampering everything that you're wanting to do.
No, absolutely, and I think the idea is to, with the opportunity of this application, is to, any issues to work out between the town and the applicant, so that the litigation is no longer relevant, there aren't issues of the 60/40, and we have the special permit, the CO, whatever it may be, and for lack of a better term, the entire application process or any issues are completely resolved at the end of this. That's basically the goal.
And I think that it may be possible to do through secret. And I think that may be a way to figure this all out.
Well, I mean, regardless,
Just
we're
a
talking
caveat to do that, but.
60/40 in the whole building, whether there's a bistro in
Right.
or not, will be 60/40, won't exceed that. So the bistro, whether
But I'd
it's
like
in
to
a-
see how that works as far as square footage and shelving and counter space and all of that stuff. If you're going to put a bistro in there, I'm not sure logistically how it's all gonna work, and that would be the question that we would ask.
Well, regardless, I think, regardless where we are obligated with regard to the 60/40, whether or not the bistro was there or not, and there was more space, the 60/40 ratio has to be adhered to.
Right.
So now that we're proposing the bistro in a portion of the property, the 60/40 will be adhered to, but just in less space.
Right. I don't disagree, I don't disagree that that's possible, but I would just like to find out how that is possible and how you're gonna do it. Because we're knowing now in this whole space that you have, that it's not working. So now you have less space and you say it's gonna work better. I'm not really understanding how that's working.
What do you
Well,
mean
it'll
that
be-
the
Because
space
the
is not
question,
working?
the question is whether it's 60/40 at this point, right? And so if you're asking for a special permit to have less space, you're gonna put chairs in there. So I'm not quite sure how it works better with less space to be
Well,
basically
You'll
we
have
just
to bring
don't
in
bring
less
those
product from
products
the
in.
outside.
Right now, if you go in there, it's basically empty. There's a couple items which you're selling out or clearance. There's nothing in there. And so when we restock it, you know, with the produce, now we're coming in with the produce season, we do herbs, we do a lot of potted stuff in there. It goes in. I just don't bring in pancake mix, per se. That's finished. So it's nothing in there, like, everything in there is gone. It's an empty building, basically. So we only bring in what's allowed. So if it's 60/40, that's it. You know, it's not like, I'm gonna like, okay, get all this and start bringing, whatever in there, you know.
Well, I'd like to go back to as far as the secra to check with our planner. I have a couple questions for him as to how this would be addressed, because like I said, I would just like to get his opinion on this.
Outside of the secret issue and the 60/40, are there any concerns from any of the board members with regard to the plan as is, the parking correction, anything from that standpoint?
I just have a question. So you're saying that the original parking lot was built as per the 10 by 20 parking space, or it was built by the 9 by 18?
No, they built for 10 by 20.
Okay. Okay,
Uh,
so you're not gonna be adding any more
There's no
asphalt?
more asphalt. As a matter of fact, the parking is too big now. Mother's
Yeah.
Day, which is our biggest day, probably 55 cars was max. So require me to put another quarter of an acre, it's just, it's not,
You know, the ag legislation seems to be trying to get the farmers to subsidize what they're doing as far as the farm operation, because the income just isn't there in order to sustain these farms. So that's why the ag and markets keeps getting more and more lenient, and the laws on the state level keep getting more and more lenient, because the farmers have to stay in business, and it has to be more of a year-round business, which is why the county legislation just got overturned, in my opinion, too, or the county legislation was upheld, in my opinion, when it was, fought. So, I think we're gonna be seeing a lot more of this, where the farmers are gonna be coming in and they're gonna be looking to have separate uses on their properties. We've already seen it, because there was a special permit application that came in the other day for Jamesport Vineyards, so, for a bistro. So I think you're gonna be seeing a lot more of these applications coming in, as the farmers need to subsidize their income so that they can sustain the farm.
I don't disagree, but it doesn't take away the fact that if we have questions, they need to be answered.
oh, yeah.
No,
You know,
absolutely, and
that's-
to your point, Councilwoman, I've been representing Walter for quite some time, and I came in with regard to litigation. Obviously, the state regulations are very different.
Yep.
We don't want to get into town versus state, we're not looking to do that.
No.
We'd like to comply and work with the town, so it's not, and again, we're gonna address all the concerns, and if secret needs to be an issue, you know, obviously, and all the compliance, but again, we recognize that, and certainly there are other avenues of the county and the state, but we're not looking to do that. We're looking to put in the bistro, and he's looking to comply, and again, it is a seasonal based, and there are issues that come up, from time to time, crop freezes, whatever it may be.
Yep.
And it is a, economic survival, but again, we're not looking to go down that avenue with, well, the state says this, so we can do this, we're not looking to do that, so.
Well, I can tell you to answer your original question, and you're right, some of our laws are contrary to what the state, and we have to work through those issues, but, as far as answer your question about this use, I think more of a site plan issue, and I think, I'm not opposed to this type of use on this property, it's big, and I didn't realize you had pancake mix there.
They have pancakes, syrup, they have.
Pancake mix.
But, that, all the grocery items are all eliminated. So, and basically right now it's empty.
I think it
But
may-
one thing
may-
you gotta
I'd like to
understand,
see just that it's
Might help
sustainable with the
maybe.
refrigeration in there, you have a lot of equipment in there that lends itself to less than the 60/40.
well, again,
Prior to, yes, prior to, and that was the genesis of the litigation and the
Right.
issue with the temporary CO. And again, the last inspection was 2016, I know I've had an ongoing discussion, with Bob with regard to this, getting him inventory, having him say, like, if you wanna come out, so, for an inspection. It's certainly, I believe it's in compliance now, I know Mr. Giberson has bees, that's the generator of honey. Again, we have that 250 miles, so again, going forward.
Yeah, I don't have it's, it's the prepackaged and all that stuff. I mean, there's in our ag and in our farm stand stuff, which that's what I was trying to figure out, if our farm stand definition is the same for what you would sell at a farm market.
I don't believe we have a definition for farm market.
All right, so that's
We don't
something.
have a definition
Okay.
for farm stand. And we've always talked about a site plan where you talk about the sale of products grown locally,
Right, just answer.
and it's a
And there's
60/40.
how much is processed and things like
So-
that, so
Right.
it's,
So you're
it
saying.
is in there.
So you're saying the bistro is going to have some tables and then takeout, but you're not going to have as many market items as you previously had?
yeah, no, that would be,
The
So the
prepackaged market.
That's all
You're
that
gonna
would
have a
be
few
gone.
Process.
tables in there?
Correct,
and
yeah,
then takeout.
I believe we have approval for max of 16 seats.
And
So
the menu
the-
is sort of sandwich, what did you say the menu
like,
was?
soup, sandwich, and salad.
And you have outside deck there in the front? You're gonna go on the deck too, or I can't remember if you have a deck or not.
I believe there are a couple of tables
There's a
outside.
deck,
to sit.
we have bench seats. What it is, a lot of people come out east, day trippers. They look at the traffic, going back on Sunday, you can't even move. They just sit down there and
It's a lovely
rest.
building,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, I think you
And
did
a
a
lot of
beautiful
people
job.
will just, enjoy the view, and then they get in the car and go.
And just as far, that's the only thing, because as far as sanitary and things like that go, just to include all the number of seats you're actually gonna have, if you're having outside seating also.
So the impervious surface is at 37%, and the senior building inspector just told me that 25% is permitted in the rural corridor. So you would need a variance for the impervious surface. And the APZ, the lot coverage is 15%. And I know you probably had the greenhouses, Walter, before the code was changed in 2004, which is why you were.
The greenhouse of 2000, built in 2001.
Right, so that was
Right.
before the code changed in
changed.
2004, which, reduced the amount of lot coverage you could have. So you're already pre-existing non-conforming as far as the ag operation for the lot coverage with the greenhouses.
Now-
How
now-
much, how much is on
buildings other
ag
than
land
farm
though?
market.
How
What?
much is on the 500 feet and how much is on ag land?
Well, you just said that it's 30% for the RLC? What was the number?
No, the
37.
25% is
25% is permitted.
permitted.
And he's at
And
37.
I think Greg pulled out the plan and said that he was at 37.8.
Well, that said lot coverage didn't clearly define,
Some of it might be on ag land.
yeah, there's no real differentiation in terms of the dimensional regulations on how much in the RLC, what portion of that property is
Right.
impervious and built out versus what's remaining in the APZ.
Okay, so that's something that probably needs to be cleared up on the plan as well, because that's a big factor to weigh when this town board is granting a
you get
special
No,
permit.
I understand. Now, you brought up the pre-existing. Now, would that require a separate, application determination for pre-existing?
No, but pre-existing non-conforming uses, when the code was changed in 2004,
Yeah.
if someone should come in for a separate application after that date, and they have a pre-existing non-conforming use on the property, that's what the board has to weigh as far as,
Okay.
are you going to exasperate the pre-existing non-conforming use? Are you going to stay the same? Are you going to, which it appears you're staying the same, so.
We're staying the same.
Correct, we're not adding, any agricultural uses, as we said, it will be, excuse me, besides, you know, the deli fair, the plastics and the refuse, but we're not expanding any of the, greenhouse activities or anything like that, or certainly any of the footprint. So I don't see how any of that would change.
Right, I'm just curious as to what the protocol would be for the approval, whether or not the pre-existing goes away because there's a new application being filed and what they have as of today is considered as of today in the new code.
And that could all go into secret.
Good use.
All right, very good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I wanna paint,
What is that?
put a fish on a brioche
So
roll.
what do we have to decide who's lead eight?
Yes, I mean, I'll talk to Jeff Seaman. I mean, I don't think he'll have an issue with doing it unlisted.
Okay.
It would probably end up being town board being lead agency, being that
Okay.
there's no site plan or, and I'll speak with, I'm not, you know, if they're not proposing any new expansion of the impervious, I'm not sure if they'll need a variance, but I'll check with Brad on that and we'll clarify.
But we can
that.
at least ask all those questions and have them
Yeah.
answered before we have to make a
Yeah,
determination.
I
which
agree.
is-
And I'll review it with Brad as well, just to make sure we're on the same page.
So it's basically to get all our questions answered, so when we make a determination on the special permit, that we've had all our questions answered satisfactorily, and that would be the reason. So probably what we'll do is we'll talk to our planner, and we'll probably have, more than likely have the town board become lead agency on it, and then we'll do the secret and, you know, determine what we'll type it as, and then go from there.
Okay, well,
Okay?
Thank you, George. And that's yours.
Walter.
Walter.
Probably
not the first time.
Right, I think just to get our questions answered.
That's fine.
Biggest thing is getting them to
Oh, I love it.
conform to the 60/40, which is what ended up in court
The
to begin with.
60/40 just really needs to be defined, because is it square footage, is it the number, if he's
Right.
selling,
Sure, the
based on
code is
the
gonna allow you
sales.
to
I know.
make that conclusion because it's not clear,
But that's the question we ask.
you know,
You know,
but
how do they define it, what are we doing, and
Well, I know the assessors are going in, especially if they're under an ag assessment, the assessors are going in and seeing what's being marketed inside the farm stand or inside the farm market to make sure that it meets the
oh,
60/40.
good, thank you.
And the sales also, when they ring it, it
Oh, yeah,
rings
well,
whether it's retail or whether it's ag,
sandwich.
so that they meet the numbers that they're supposed to meet in an ag district.
It's supposed to.
It's supposed to.
Right.
But they double check
That's
that.
the problem, though.
And the county ag district checks it also, the register, so that when they go in and they go pull a can off the shelf and they ring it up, how is it ringing up? Is it ringing up as agriculture, or is it ringing up as, you know, a can that wasn't packaged there?
right.
That's the
So,
problem.
it's not
There's a lot of
just a
questions.
free-for-all.
Well, I think also with bistros, we need to take a look at, in our code, you know, as you were saying, you know, people are coming in and asking for it instead of doing it on a case-by-case basis. I think we need to take a look at what we permit
Absolutely.
at the farm stands and stuff, and see if we're still on track for what's going on.
Right, and whether or not they need variances, and how many variances. I mean, are they trying to stuff a 10-pound bag of potatoes, or 10 pounds of potatoes into a 1-pound bag?
That's how I put my pants on every day.
So next we'll move to special permit for Jamesport Vineyard.
Okay, and then, sorry, Rich, we'll be right with you.
Yeah.
It was just the time got moved up this morning and
Morning.
Good morning.
tried to get here early. I hope we're not keeping you. Okay.
Just gonna ask you, once you are on the TV, just to introduce yourselves.
Ron Gerler Senior.
Ron Gerler Jr.
Okay, thank you very much. From Jamesport Vineyard?
Yes.
Okay.
How do you spell the last name?
G-O-E-R-L-E-R. If you say girl and add ER, it's the simplest way to remember it.
Really?
A lot of people have messed that name up.
Yeah, that's why I asked you to spell it.
You've been spelling it for a long time.
All right, I'll get it going again. We've
All right.
got, planning department's received a special permit application, which is seeking to establish a bistro and legalize an outdoor pizza oven addition, which was constructed illegally without any permits or approvals from the town or from Suffolk County Department of Health Services. The proposed bistro will be considered a 49-seat pizza bistro, located within the same structure as the existing winery and the associated tasting room. The property owner has been issued a violation by the chief building inspector. Again, the subject parcel is located within the rural corridor, which by town code, bistros and cafes are especially permitted use within the RLC. Subject parcel is located at 1214 Main Road on the north side of the road, approximately 900 feet east of Tuttle's Lane. Site's presently improved with a two-story single-family residence, roughly 3,700 square foot, two-story building used as a winery and accessory tasting room, 500 square foot garage, and a 240 square foot shed. Now this one, the proposed action, when Jeff Seaman reviewed this, it was considered an unlisted action pursuant to SECRA. Coordinated review is optional and not recommended. Staff would recommend that the proposed special permit use will not have a significant impact on the overall operation of the site or the surrounding area, and recommended a negative declaration. Speaking to the winery use, when I researched building department records, the winery use and accessory tasting room was constructed by building permit issued on October 8th, 1993, and was issued a certificate of occupancy dated November 11th, 1993. Now, it's worth noting, just because it came up on the prior application, this parcel is not located within an agricultural district, so it's not getting that agricultural assessment benefit from the town assessor's office, so it's basically paying, full commercial taxes.
We like that, you know.
Yeah.
The special permit application, off the bat, that has been submitted is problematic because it appears as though the bistro is being proposed as an accessory to an accessory use. The principal use of the property is the growing of grapes and production of wine, with the tasting room being accessory to the manufacturing. One thing I want the town board to look at is, when the Riverhead Master Plan was adopted in 2004, which included a bistro as a specially permitted use in this area, it is unclear if the intent was for the bistro to be established as a separate and distinct use, or kind of commingled with other uses as is being proposed here. The special permit application doesn't really call for any specific physically delineated area within the building to be designated for the bistro, but rather proposes to commingle the two uses in the same space.
I don't think you could do that, because, we had that instance when it came to Sherwood, right? On Main Road, where they had to do the antique stores separate, with separate entrance and everything else. They had to build a wall, and they had to separate the, vineyard use or the tasting room use from the accessory use, which was the antique craft store, and I think so, I would double check on that, right, Brad?
If that you know what, do you wanna come,
Sherwood?
do you want Brad to come up to answer the question, just 'cause we're on? I know you love this, Brad, so come on up.
We have plenty of chairs.
And they all match. So that's the only thing, is that you have to distinguish, I think, between the two. And I don't know how the accessory to the accessory works, but I guess
so
that's
sure
up for the
that's
lawyers
just
to figure out.
Is that Jefferson, is that accessory to accessory?
I'm not so sure that's true.
That wasn't me.
I mean, it works at the cider house,
So it's an accessory to the tasting room?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, there's no real physical delineate, no clear, yeah, it's kind of murky, there's no clear definition of it. It almost really kind of turns the entire site just into, almost essentially treats it as a restaurant. I mean, not beyond the 50 seats,
Fewer
but,
restrictions.
you're coming in, you're getting wine, you're getting food. What's to differentiate that, from the other uses?
And Brad, how have we addressed that in the past?
Well, the big deal about the Cafe Bistro is being different from a restaurant. It's limited to 49 seats, so I think you do want the space physically defined. I'm not so sure that it's the bistro, it needs to be accessory to the winemaking. The winemaking is a use, that accessory is wine tasting, which is allowed in RLC. And the Cafe Bistro is a permitted principal use as well. We don't have, before the master plan, there was a limited to one or two permitted uses on a site, but that went away. Now you can have multiple principal uses. I think having the cafe be defined area, so they can't over-occupy, can't go beyond 49 seats, makes a lot of sense. Having that being separate and distinct from the wine tasting, you might want to do that, but it kind of depends on, it's not a whole lot of space they're proposing right now. I mean, we crunching the numbers, and if they stayed inside the area, it didn't seem like it would be even near the But I can totally understand if you wanna have wine tasting here and cafe bistro here, so the cafe bistro doesn't meld into the wine tasting. Some of our other tasting places have spread beyond what we expected, so
Yeah.
having them physically defined makes a lot of sense. I don't think it's a use issue, though. You can have the multiple uses.
And that's what I've seen in Southold too, where they have the tasting, they have the tasting room up front, and then they have the separate sitting area in the back where they serve the food. So it's a separate space, so that you could better figure out, I mean, if you have 50 seats in the tasting and you have 50 seats in the bistro, and people are getting from the bistro and they're coming into the wine tasting space, and there's 50 people sitting down eating there and 50 people sitting down in the back, then you're exceeding what the
Wouldn't
code
that be nice?
allows.
And that's, now, with regards to the actual seating and the occupancies, I have received an amended site plan since the staff report was, drafted up, which now shows 36 seats inside and shows 14 seats outside. Now, the issue with, showing 14 seats outside is there's additional area for people to expand, to think that there's only gonna be 14 people on the outside patio on a nice day.
But the capacity of the kitchen doesn't change, correct?
Correct. Yeah, I believe in what's out there is just a brick oven,
Yes, yep, wood fired.
And the
Wood-
health
wood
department
fired.
enforces the number of seats, so whether, the health department does periodic inspections in restaurants and bistros where they'll go out and they'll count the number of seats. So if you're exceeding it, then you're gonna get a violation from the health department, you're gonna get brought into a hearing, so, we don't really,
Yeah, we could do joint enforcement actions with food control. It happens all the time. If we have someone's a problem, I call someone in food control and say, I'm having a problem with this, you might wanna know about it, and they can do something.
All right, so the proposed application will require a site plan review by the planning board, as the applicant is proposing to expand the parking area in order to accommodate the installation of additional parking, ADA spaces, and again, since this report was drafted, they are also gonna be proposing some lighting on the site.
Just the restaurant is just self-serve, no table service.
Well, we have, at the winery, we actually serve people wine at the tables, so that would be a part of that, but it's all throwaway type of stuff that we have there.
Okay.
you're permitted to have table service
Yes.
in the zoning district.
Yeah, I just wanna know what the, what the plan is.
But people do come up and there is a self-service.
Service,
Yes.
okay.
Self-service of wine?
They do it
Jim
in
will be
Europe.
over there next
Sign-
week.
sign me up.
They do it in Europe,
Buffet.
at the gas stations in Europe.
Oh, my God. Fill her up.
You do, you bring your liter bottle, you put it on there, it fills it right up.
Is any of the property, have the development rights been sold, or are the development rights intact?
That's all cut out there, that's the commercial side of it. The back part of the farm was sold off way back in 1984.
Okay, so,
It's all intact, everything's in, it's buildable, it's buildable.
Yeah, so the
It's 4 acre-
subject parcel.
It's
is
4
all
acres of
built.
buildable property, yes.
okay, but you're saying the development rights were sold, so you can.
On the piece that was connected to the property way back in 1984, which is behind all of
Yeah,
these.
there's an area in the back of it.
Which we don't
So
own.
not
We're-
in
we're
this
not a
red
part
area?
of it,
No.
yes. We're not a
Okay.
part of that at
All the
all.
development rights on that parcel are intact.
Okay,
If I may, because you were talking earlier about how ag markets law has changed and it's affected our code and our zoning and how we deal with these. The wineries, as the tasting laws changed, you can sit there and drink all day by the glass. The winery owners had to give people some form of food or something, some sort of sustenance, to not have them get in their car and empty stomach and 2 glasses of wine. So I think we had a pizza oven. I wrote a violation on it. This seemed like it made sense to me. I said, you're lucky because you're fully commercial, there's a special permit for a cafe bistro, and you don't have to play the game of, I'm growing this or I'm not growing it. You could just go for the special permit, make sure you have the access, and you can legalize that. Define it, put conditions on it, but I think this should be more of the model for how we deal with these types of uses, so that we are being more responsible about people coming out and doing the tasting.
That's what I was saying, I think we need to take a
Yeah,
look
but
at
you
our
hit that
code that
great-
we have, so
great
that
glass
this
of
isn't
wine.
necessarily a special
Show it.
permit moving forward.
and what's the total area of the site?
4 acres, I
4
think?
acres, yeah, 4.1, 4.
And again, I'll ask the same question as to what the impervious surface,
Impervious surface
Coverages?
on the 4 acres? How much is impervious surface, either building coverage or driveway, parking area?
proposed as far as
Well,
the.
the parking lot is gravel.
Full gravel,
So I don't know that there's
going
Right,
for
but
it.
once you turn it into a restaurant, I think those,
You gotta put a
that changes,
88.
especially
Well,
for
I
the
know,
handicap
for the
spots.
ADA.
platform is.
Impervious surface maximum permitted is 25%. He's at 20.9 right now proposed. So
20.9
he's
with the parking. Okay, good.
under the required impervious.
Makes me happy.
Makes me happy too.
I don't like when, I like coming in
You didn't wanna
first.
answer that question.
And needing all these variances.
It's here somewhere.
Just speaking of the parking again, the existing parking area is a gravel parking lot. Right now, it lacks any sort of physical delineation for the parking spots, which you can see on page 4 on one of the images. On the site plan end of it, I'm recommending, and they've provided updated plans, I recommended, because they will be expanding it to meet the requirements for the bistro and the tasting room use. I'm recommending concrete stops just to provide some sort of physical delineation in the lot, just so it doesn't become a free-for-all, and who gets here first, so that there's actually some.
Oh, I sort of like that free-for-all stuff.
And the handicap has to be paved also, correct?
Yeah,
Is that the increase in the?
handicap is gonna be asphalt.
Does it have to be the concrete ones? Can it be the recycled rubber ones?
I think whatever would be
It's just
ADA
curb
compliant,
stops.
you'd have to
Stops,
take a,
yes.
you'd have to look what's ADA compliant.
But you're talking
I
about
don't think
the
it
car
matters.
stops, you're not talking about the pump, right?
I don't think it matters if it's concrete or if it's, just as long as there's something to stop the car from going into the next one.
10 by 10, yeah.
I sort of like the free-for-all.
Going through some of the items to be considered by the board. You know, the site is particularly suitable for location in the community. You know, the establishment of, it's basically a 480 square foot attachment on the west side of the building. It doesn't seem like the operation of that attached bistro would kind of cause any detriment to the surrounding area of the community. The plot area is sufficient in size. It was stated it was 4.12 acres. The expansion of the building and parking area and it represents a 6.6% increase in the building area. So it's a relatively small expansion to the existing.
And the driveway in and out is sufficient?
Yeah, and I,
Access to the road back and forth?
and I did receive comments from State DOT, based on the scope of the work, they were okay with the existing access. There are 2 access points from 25, which I spoke with the fire marshal during the site plan review. They're just recommending no parking signs along that so that the fire department can have unobstructed access to come in and out of the site in the case of an emergency.
Yeah, there's also, is there any curbing on the street frontage?
There's a sidewalk.
No, there's all sidewalks
There's
and
all
cuts, it's all
sidewalk.
DOT cuts
There's
and
sidewalk
everything.
from 105 all the way out to the end of the town, except for that one little patch in front of, across from the elbow room.
Just
the only
because
place that's
I
not
would be
sidewalk.
concerned about
Like,
people
it's
parking
close
on
to the road.
25 and then getting out of their cars
We
to
don't allow
walk up.
anybody to park on the 25.
Okay, that's all that I would be concerned about.
How long have you
No,
owned
there was
it?
a sidewalk there, somebody
My
paved
dad
it over.
purchased it in 1984.
Oh,
Yeah, early.
Lucky you.
you started the whole trend out here.
Yeah, right.
Number 5.
We're just going through
Best
some of the.
Merlot ever.
Just going through some of the additional considerations, speaking about the buffer yards, landscaping walls and fences, to protect adjacent properties. The existing winery and the tasting room and the public access areas are a minimum of 225 feet away from the single-family residence to the east. When I looked at the town IPS system, I didn't see any history of any kind of noise complaints or any kind of violations. So that kind of just speaks to their favor, so I don't believe, I believe the existing buffers and everything are adequate. Now, being that the site has never gone through site plan review before, the town board and planning board may wish to, this is the opportunity if they want to consider any covenants, outdoor music, hours of operation, buses coming to the site, et cetera. Both boards can consider that, and if they want to impose any covenants.
I think the buffers are important, just because it is in the APZ zone, residential is permitted, so they may not have residential next to them now, but they may have that in the future if any of the farms around them get sold.
Well, they have there's an existing single-family residence to the east, and the parcel behind them to the west, it's where the development rights were sold, so I don't know if there's gonna be a lot of room for residential, but I can look into that, and if there's the need for it, we can definitely address that.
Okay.
Tom Warlock John Warlock is my neighbor there, and he's actually
I know,
drinks wine.
you're not gonna be
Yeah,
able to
just
get
drop
rid
a
of
bottle of
Tommy and
wine once a
Wendy,
week.
they stay home, they're gonna be over at your place all the time eating, you know that, right?
Yes.
extortion. Give me wine, I'll be quiet.
Shoots his pellet gun every day, that's how I gotta figure that one out. I'm concerned with getting hit by a pellet gun.
One of the things I noted on the site plan was that the,
What number?
I'm on letter M.
Okay.
Just about, environmental pollution, stuff like that. It was noted that on the initial site plan that came in, it did not indicate any dumpster enclosures. The revised site plan that has been submitted does indicate a dumpster enclosure that's screened pursuant to town code.
What's our screening required for dumpster enclosures? Do we have a standard screening?
I believe it's a 6-foot-high fence, it can be, evergreens, vegetative screening.
Okay.
It has to be vegetative?
Well, I mean, you can, there can be
Wood, it
accommodations.
can be wood,
Yeah,
whatever.
as long as it's sufficiently screened. And again, just letter O was, town board just consider the intent of the town code to determine if allowing this bistro, I don't wanna hammer it, if Brad's okay with the accessory use.
But are we
Having-
calling it accessory to accessory, or we're calling, I think we should.
We can strike
I
that.
think
mean,
we,
for
yeah, I
one of
think
this-
we
one of
should,
this.
It's a
should-
special
I think
permit
it
use
becomes very
which would be
confusing.
a principal use.
Yeah,
That's the way it's coming to
Well,
us.
it's commercial.
Well, you have permitted uses, special permitted uses, which would be a principal use.
Yep.
This is under special permit.
Yep.
Right, we don't wanna say that, you need to have food as an accessory, or you can have food as an accessory to wine tasting.
but this is a principal use to the rural corridor permitted in the zoning, so I think we should go that way.
Right. Again, the letter R, it doesn't seem that the operation of this bistro would drastically change the character of the site or the surrounding area. It will require approval from Suffolk County Department of Health Services wastewater management, as well as the food control unit.
Yeah, I think that's the heavier lift than us.
All we're waiting for is for the negative declaration, and the plans are ready to be submitted, so.
Excellent. And you're already up, sort of like ahead of the curve a little bit. Just trying to get it done, so that's good.
So what do we do from here?
Well, I can have a resolution for the town board to assume lead agency for the special permit. If the board feels it's appropriate, we can issue a negative declaration. For the special permit, the one thing that I would recommend, being that it does need to go through site plan, condition it that no site work shall be commenced until they receive site plan approval.
And it's double fines. Now, we just changed that.
I mean, we did.
Last night.
Last night.
A special
So-
special permit would need a public hearing,
Mhm.
so we can, if the board is okay with it, I can have a resolution prepared for the next meeting, to schedule the public hearing.
I'm fine with that.
I'm okay with that.
Let's get it going,
Everybody?
summer's
Good
coming.
with that?
So,
When is the next meeting?
June 5th is the next meeting. It's 3 weeks.
That's when we would adopt the resolution
To call for the public hearing.
to call for the public hearing.
Yeah.
So the public hearing may not be till the first week in July.
It would be mid-June, because you noticed 10 days, so it would be mid-June.
Yeah, but the
public
clerk
hearing.
needs time to put it in the paper, and I think it has to be in the paper for 10
You
days,
were
so.
right. She'll put in today.
Okay.
Yeah, I can find out the dates, I can see exactly
Yes,
what the,
you
what the
can,
timeframes
yes,
are.
you could say,
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll get it on it as quickly as the scheduling allows.
So we could look by August then,
Yes.
potentially.
Yeah, you should, yeah.
And in the meantime, I will have it on for the planning board, and we will go through the site plan review, so hopefully everything, by the time the public hearing's done on that, everything can kinda get wrapped up and,
Yeah, it's 6% or something, but
yeah,
it's not earth shattering.
no.
So,
And then we'll look forward to your special permit application for the corned beef and cabbage for the St. Patrick's Day parade, because I missed that this year.
Yeah, I did too.
Thank you.
All right, very good, thank you.
thank you.
For the day, ladies and gents.
Thanks, still raining.
Yeah.
Jody, do you wanna call for the baseline?
You know, let's get food into the wine cooler. I worry about all
Girl,
this.
girl, yes, you're getting it.
The only girl in the world.
I love it.
Is this your granddaughter?
Pardon?
Is this your granddaughter?
Yeah.
So Sarah, are you the next generation? Perfect.
Nice to meet you.
Next time you have to come and sit up here.
She did work.
I know.
She's working hard.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Don't pinch, don't pinch, don't pinch.
done yet?
Hi, how are you? Yep, come up and join us.
Excited for the wine tasting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello, I'm Rich Bilal, I'm with Baseline Health, and
Hi, Rich.
it's Town Clerk Wilhelm,
Jim Wooten.
Wooten, Councilwoman Kent,
Hubbard.
Hubbard, and Giglio, and then Supervisor Jen Smith.
Mhm.
So thank you very
job.
much.
Very
Thank you
good,
for
yeah.
the
Good job.
opportunity to meet with you, very excited. We do have a PowerPoint to go, but I also have copies. So you can have for your reference, and I have my card as well. If you need to get hold of me, the cell phone is the best method, as I live in my car.
So.
Many of us do.
So I met Rich quite some time ago through a friend, and it was another elected official who has taken advantage of the services that Baseline Health provides, which is a mobile health unit to do annual physicals and what have you. And I found it very interesting because I know the biggest hurdles that a lot of working people face when they go to get their annual physicals or tend not to is the time involved in getting to the doctor, waiting for your appointment, waiting to be called, and then by the time you're done with your appointment, you've been out of work for 2 hours. So one of the most interesting things I find about Baseline Health is that it's 1 hour from the time you get in till the time you get out, and I'll let you take it from there.
Thank you, Councilman Giglio. And we are very excited. The one thing to keep in mind is that there's no cost to the municipality. There's no charging, there's no contract, there's no RFP. This is a member benefit that you can allow your workers to participate in through their health insurance you're already paying for. And I'll go through the benefits of that as well. So Baseline Health brings doctors to work sites. And I'm not gonna go through every slide. You have it for your reference, but we take a multitude of health plans. You probably have night shift as your, so we do that. What we do is we bring doctors to the work site. So as the councilwoman said, that people don't go to the doctor, okay? They just don't go. You have great health insurance. I'm a trustee for the Village of East Rockaway, so we pay about $24,000 a year per employee for health insurance. It's probably.
Who do you have?
Right, so you're more than that.
Oh, yeah.
And our costs go up about 8% a year. We have 2% tax cap. You do the math, it's very hard to do. And has anyone seen the commercials for Cigna, the TV Doctors of America, where they have Doogie Howser and people from.
Yeah.
And they're going in, they're saying, I don't know anything, but what I do know is get your annual checkup. Cigna's not doing that because it loses them money. Cigna knows that if you get regular preventative care, it drives down healthcare costs, and as an employer, it raises productivity. At any given time, we have about 5 or 6% of our workers that are out from something that's pretty much preventable. Now, in the private sector, a lot of times you can hire someone, or you can tell two people, okay, you guys are doing more work because we need to cover while this person is out. So it's sometimes because of the way job titles are, and you can't just do that. So we'll have gaps, and every municipality faces that. That's why a lot of them have liked this concept. We do full blood panels. It's a full comprehensive medical care. We do multiple tests. So depending on the patient's history, John, that's okay. We have it here, and I have this. I never run his deck. Depending on the patient's history, a doctor might order an EKG or an echocardiogram or a carotid, which is just a vasculature of the neck. They might do some renal checking. We'll do allergy testing if people want that. We'll do sleep testing. Sleep apnea. About a year ago, my wife woke me up and said, has anyone ever killed their husband for snoring? And we Googled it, and the answer is yes. It's actually a lot more than you would think. And I went and had sleep testing, had sleep apnea, and I got a little mouth guard. I put that in my mouth, it pulls the jaw forward a little bit. Don't have to wear the big mask and all. We do that, we'll do that even on a take-home. I took a take-home exam. Something I wore on my bed, and it told the doctor that I had that. We offer a multitude of tests. This is just data, and I'm going through these quickly because I want to have time for your questions and all, but this is just data showing the economics of why preventative healthcare works. You're showing that thousands of dollars can be saved with proactive healthcare because you drive costs down. Now, what makes you unique as a municipality relative to a commercial side is in the commercial side, employers across corporate America have shed all responsibility for long-term costs of employees, both in pension and in healthcare, okay? In municipality, you generally cover someone for life. And if a typical example where Baseline might come in is, you catch a worker, their A1C is high, it's elevated, it's over 6.5. That's a marker for type 2 diabetes. And you can take there's a generic drug called metformin, that's very cheap, it helps the pancreas be a little bit more efficient, okay? It's normally the first step. You have someone take metformin early on in their high A1C, you can stave off type 2 diabetes for the better part of decades. What does that do not only to the health of the person, which is phenomenal, but also drives down the long-term costs? And if they make lifestyle changes, that's great, but most people don't. But if they do, that's even better. But at least identifying it early and making sure that the healthcare costs are down, it keeps people healthier a lot longer.
We're aware of that.
Exactly.
Like that Stop Smoking Sensation program,
I'm on
cessation
Janumet,
program.
Exactly.
I'm on Janumet and Forxiga. I'm on both.
So this is an example of, what's great about Baseline. I'll go through some of the municipalities, some of the entities, law enforcement entities, unions we've worked with.
And just right off the bat, they are HIPAA certified, so they can't share any of the health information with the town, with us, unless the person that's getting the physical specifically says, you can share with my employer. So it's.
That's
Yep.
HIPAA regulated.
Absolutely, and that's important to note that.
Prescribe medical marijuana?
We do not, but we could talk.
But if they diagnosed you with something, then you could go to a doctor that
Right,
could-
exactly. But this is, but that is a great point, because this is just like going to the doctor, except the doctor comes to you. That's important to keep in mind as we go through a town board and what this would mean. You're just basically giving access to workers to come in forward. What does the process look like? A member checks in, just like the office, they fill out some forms. We'll email them beforehand, we'll hand them out. What we generally will do is we'll come in a couple days prior to testing dates, and we'll send some of our workers to go to DPW, go to the office, sign people up, we'll give copies of the forms. It makes the process go faster, but they'll fill out forms, they see the physician, based on the physician's assertion, they might determine that the person needs another diagnostic test, we'll have an echocardiogram, they might have a carotid, and then the member checks out. Within 5 days, you get the results.
That might be a bad term, checking out.
Yeah, exactly. But you get your results, and if you want, we'll send it to your doctor. If they don't have a doctor, we have those in our network, or we could recommend someone that they might like. And that's an important thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I do have a healthcare professional that I see regularly.
Correct.
So, I mean.
We'll send them the results, and.
So the follow-up's outside.
We do follow-up too. So for instance, Rockville Center, we just did 2 testing dates with them. They liked it so much, they booked a third one for May 30th. We're gonna do some follow-up with people that came through the first time that need it, and then new people as well. So we do both. We also can send them to one of our offices, that physician has.
Do you have any local office?
So we are looking, we have someone in Ridge, and that's probably the closest one right now, but we're constantly looking to add people to work with the partner physicians and all. But the follow-up is done in either location. That's basically
Or
just.
your own doctor,
Or
which
your
would
own
be
doctor,
local.
absolutely, 100%. This is we have 2 medical RVs, 38 foot, that's what they look like. The inside, you have multiple exam rooms, you have the ability for, again, all the testing, the blood work as well. We've done multiple municipalities, so Village of Patchogue, Lynbrook, Town of Islip, Village of Rockville Center, West Hampton Beach, Valley Stream, Village of Hempstead, Town of Huntington, all have utilized our services. You have in your packet a couple of letters. This is a letter that Supervisor Carpenter wrote to Supervisor Gillen in Town of Hempstead, saying how much they like the service, and we're in the process of talking to the Town of Hempstead.
And you've also, for Suffolk County as well, right? For the
Suffolk County Corrections.
Suffolk County
Yes.
Corrections.
Mhm.
So
So-
I think you said you had something like 300 of
Absolutely.
the employees from Suffolk County Corrections that just came out to the mobile unit. You schedule an appointment, you come in, you're out in an hour, and I think you said you had something like 300 people there.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit more. It was about 300, and then in Suffolk County Corrections, about 40 or so had their family members come too, spouses and
Wow.
as well too. This is from, who's this from? I'm reading upside down. Local 342, which does a lot of the municipalities. They're helping to bring us in the 3 Village School District. We're at a big conference up in Albany this weekend with a lot of all the school, because it's something that has been appealing there as well too. You have a letter here from Rockville Center that they sent to all their employees. We also have template letters. So this is a letter that West Hampton Beach, I believe, Mayor Moore sent out to her employees. She came through, got her physical. And we can get you all of this to make it easy. This is from the Village of Hempstead, that they sent out to all their employees. We've also done tremendous work with a lot of the law enforcement agencies, as Councilwoman mentioned, all of Suffolk Corrections, Rockland Corrections, we've done Rikers Island, we sponsor their football team, NYPD K-9, Village Police of Amityville, Hempstead, West Hampton, Mount Vernon, all the New York troopers on Long Island, the city, and now we're moving up into the troop that's just north of the city.
Now, how many people do you see a day in the unit?
We can do up to 23, and we do, we'd like to do about 15 to make it a worthwhile day.
15?
But the,
15 people in a day.
but the mobile unit can be here for as long as we need it here, based on the people that are interested in getting the physical. So if they need it for 3 weeks, a month, 6
Right.
weeks, whatever it is.
So, and we'll work the time. So when we did a lot of work with New York City sanitation. And when we did them, they were like, well, some days we did 6 a.m. to whatever. Some days we did 4 p.m. to midnight. And it's whatever the municipality or organization wants, because it's all about being convenient for them. You know, I sit there and go, I'll make a 9 o'clock appointment with my doctor. It'll be 10:18. I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, the doctor's busy. I'm like, I'm busy too. You know, and I'm a West Point guy, ex-Army officer. My partner's an ex-Army guy. We're like, you know, our doctors control all the medical, but when we sit down, we say, if we're starting with Town of Riverhead at 8:30, you're here at 8, you're seeing, we like to say, wheels up, you're seeing a patient at 8:30, and that person is done at 9:30, and then they're back to work. And that's, you know, and the doctors do respect that, because that's part of the agreement to work with us, is that.
How do municipalities handle it? Do they allow the employer
Yes.
time off?
Yes,
to go
so
into it?
about half of them will actually codify it. So Supervisor Carpenter sent out a letter, Mayor Kennedy sent out a letter in Nassau about, you have this time off. All of them, if they don't do that, they do a gentleman's agreement where, hey, you know, cover each other, you know, let people have the time, because they know it's a benefit. If you.
It's a ladies' agreement now.
Is that what it is? Yeah, exactly. So, exactly. So in that instance, you have a ladies' agreement where you would say,
Yeah.
you can take the time off, and then, and it prevents people from taking a half a day to go to their doctor, and they're in and out. Some places have said, you know, kind of roll it into maybe your lunchtime, if you will, but
And then
generally.
also, I
it's-
mean, but just because, you know, especially our police officers, we lost 2 very young police officers that were very special to our community, and they didn't even know that they had issues. And I think you were telling me when I talked to you that you found somebody that had a blockage in their hearts, and they were automatically just sent to the hospital
Yes.
from the mobile unit to go and have this catheterization or whatever it is that they did there. So they're able to detect things that, you know, in a matter of a day, somebody could be dead.
All right, good. And I would say about once a week, we probably catch a life-saving event. And the doctors will aggregate, so they will let us know. They'll say, we saw 80 people this past week, we caught 3 prostate cancer, we caught a massive blockage. We had some person that came in, had like an 8.2 creatinine clearance, which is basically end-stage renal disease. And they were like, you go to the doctor now. When we did Town of Islip, this was a cool thing. We did Town of Islip, we did a couple days with them. There was one of their DPW workers had a major health event at work. His partner remembered he had seen our RV in the town parking lot and drove him, rather than going to the hospital, he drove him right to the parking lot. The doctor came out and stabilized him, and then they got him to Southside, where he was ended up being okay. But to your point, you know, you catch things early. You know, you catch people with. We did a union that covers the whole New York City East. The headquarters here in Suffolk County caught one of their leaders that had prostate, you know, cancer, and that's something that wouldn't have happened if we didn't proactively.
And you find that's because the baseline health is more, like I go to my doctor pretty regularly.
Mhm.
I mean, a bunch of doctors, whether it's colonoscopy, endoscopy, all that stuff. So I go to different doctors for different things, but, so they treat specific things. So I guess baseline, you're doing a more comprehensive.
Right.
Well, everything's referral. You
What's that?
refer them out.
No.
Whatever you detect, you refer out to a
Well, of
different-
course,
yeah.
if it's something, if you
Well, I'm just
caught,
saying,
but you're doing your PSA, so you're checking for prostate.
You're a general practitioner, you're doing your general
And
practitioner.
cardiologist.
Okay,
Generally, often we have a cardiology with a general practitioner or internal medicine specialty, but the blood tests are pretty pervasive.
Full
and
panel blood
full
test
panel
is
blood
pretty good.
test.
Yeah, like
And
that.
then the diagnostics are there, and it's and that's it. If you catch someone early, there's so much medicine can do. If you wait until if we you know, Studies have shown that most people, but particularly union workers, will about 65% don't even have a primary care doctor.
No, I know.
So you pay all this money, 24,000 plus, and they don't even have a doctor, let alone have someone you could refer to. So the idea of proactively setting it up and saying, hey, if you want this, take advantage. Now, I will say this, that when the municipality works proactively, meaning it's not just, yeah, you can come and we'll do it. It's we really, we'll send out emails to our people. We'll let you come in and bring some, donuts or snacks. We try not to bring donuts because that's kind of easy. But a lot of times that is a draw. We'll go to a
Celery and carrots.
No, but no one comes out for that. But we'll go to the DPW before they start their shift, and we'll send someone to sign, it does, people come on board. And like I said, if you do nothing else, my son worked DPW in our village for 4 years in the summer before he went, when he was in school, and he said every day, people eat the egg and bacon sandwich, then they would drive and they dump off at the dump, and then there was a Nathan's right near the dump in Nassau County, and every day they would stop and get Nathan's and 2 hot dogs. He was like, I'm an 18-year-old.
They have good fries. So
Yeah, he said one of the guys, he would take his fries, dump them in a bag, put salt and shake it up, and he said the surface area of Nathan's fry allows for maximum salt. But he did that. But
They're
the
delicious.
supervisor, you might do that once every 2 years. This was every day. And you can see what that will do to a person. I don't
And
care.
a big shake.
And a big shake. So I think that is.
Wow.
So
Is
I'm
it-
just
hungry
curious,
now.
your physicians, do they tend to be the consistent physicians?
Yes. Yeah, they tend to be consistent physicians. We work with some doctors in New York City when we do, the police in the city, or we've done, sanitation. We work with, we've done a lot of work with the Heart and Health out here in Long Island. We've done work with Dr. Halper, which has 4 offices in Nassau and Suffolk County, at Rockville Center. So we generally like to keep consistency. We work with 1 or 2 groups at a time. But, we did have, about 2 years ago, we did have a physician that was not, he could not get in his head that he is serving the members, it's not the other way around. And it was, 9:15 for an 8:30 start. And after 1 or 2 times, we're like, no, we can't, this is not, because we assign everyone what we call a baseline concierge. So it's a person that, if there's any issue, any problem, we give them the card. You call them. You don't call the insurance company. You don't call it. Just call us, and we'll take care of it. And we'll work with, we'll work with the insurance company. Now, generally, again, you have great. But what's an example? Someone comes through and it didn't get picked up, and they don't have. Maybe they're on their spouse's insurance, and it's not that good, and it's not one that's a PPO, meaning you can kind of go wherever you want. We eat that. We just write that off. We've never balance billed anyone. We don't go after someone for, funding it for some reason. Let's say you had a physical and it was within the year and the insurance doesn't cover for it. That's on us. We never go after that. There's no heartache, for any of the municipality or the union leadership. If something does come up, 100% of the time it's been a misunderstanding, whether someone got a call and they had, we had one time a person had a $20 copay for their blood. And that's standard. That's what you would have if you went to the doctor and the person, called. And clearly once we explained it, they were fine with that. But even if it's a hardship, we will waive. Legally you can't waive copays, but if we have letters on boards and listen, it hasn't been that long ago where when I had 2 little kids and my wife had to stop working for a while, and $20 was an issue, and I didn't necessarily have 20. If someone said, hey, we can even do that on an individual basis. So we want to make sure everyone gets checked.
Now, how many doctors would there be on site?
So there would be 1 physician, a medical assistant, there would be a baseline concierge, generally that is kind of an intake person, but that also has the knowledge of how everything works, and then 1 or 2 techs is kind of standard. That would
And
be
you said the lab work's done right there, too?
They would take the blood right there, then we of course send it out to, whatever the lab is, Empire, Quest, LabCorp. There also would, depending on what you want, so Rockville Center, they're bringing us back in for a 3rd time, and now they're talking, they have their own power facility, power generator. The workers there need some metals testing that they realize. We're talking to them, hey, and we can do that. So we're probably gonna go back for a 4th time to cover them. We also have several certified DOT physical PAs, or so some of our entities, Local 282, which is a large transportation company, we've done them now 2 years in a row, and we do all their DOT certification. So if you
The
have.
CDLs.
CDLs,
Yeah.
and and we do that for free. So if someone comes through a physical, generally, you have to pay like $150, it's out of pocket for the worker. We will cover that cost. And as
So they
part of the
just need to
physical.
let you know ahead of time that they need to have this
Correct.
physical for their CDL.
Right, CDL, and generally it works, is if you have a good number, we need to know, because we have to get a special person that is certified to do that, but it's not, if one person comes on and says, hey, can you give me a CDL, we often can't do it.
Yeah,
But if we
well,
know,
A lot of our highway department workers have
Correct.
CDLs, so we might wanna schedule those highway workers that are calling you for 2 separate days. So Laura, maybe in your letter, if you were to send it out to the highway department, say, we can have somebody on site to verify.
Well, we'd arrange it so they all come in
Yeah.
on that day, is 10, like what you
Yeah.
tend to do, right?
and they love it, it saves them the time, it keeps, I think it's a 2-year certification.
The one question I have is your physicians are out of where?
So they're Long Island doctors.
So you just contract with them to
Yes,
be part of the baseline?
yeah,
So, and as far as referrals and follow-up, how does that work so that it stays within our area here? You know, that that people can access a healthcare locally. So if, you know, you have
Right.
say you have a cardiologist, but you're referring for stress testing, whatever, how does that go to a local so that they're not having to go to Ridge or somebody else, and we support our local?
We definitely can talk to you about doing that.
Okay.
That's not our, we don't have office, as basically an office, our goal is not to like, we just want people to be healthy.
You don't wanna be our primary care.
We don't, we just want, so we.
And you check certifications and all of that for
Absolutely.
people you refer to? Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then the report goes to the patient and
Yes.
their physician if they.
Yes.
And what's the time frame on the
So,
reports
so
going out?
the goal, we like to say 5 days, it's almost 100% of the time, every now and then, depending on work day, so 10 days, we generally tell people, within 10 days, it's almost always within 5 days.
And that would be the report from the physician
blood
and the
work.
lab work, the
Yes,
blood work.
correct. Right, and depending on their diagnostic, you have to have, so if we do, sometimes we'll have a cardiologist on the RV, and they'll just look and go right there and say, oh, you have a little blockage here. Most of the time, we send it to a cardiologist to read, and then that's why we give a 5-day window. It's almost the next day, we have them set up, they know when we have.
You actually have to do echocardiograms and all that stuff?
Absolutely.
Wow.
So your need is 23 plus?
23, 15 plus is a good day.
Okay.
23 is what we would like to, because again, it's a fixed cost if you're bringing a doctor and all staff,
And,
so.
and how do the municipalities tend to work? They send out a letter of inquiry to their employees to see if there's a desire, an interest, and then,
They generally don't, generally they know, it's like the, what was that movie with the baseball?
Build it.
If
Yeah,
you build
they-
it,
they
they'll
will
come.
come.
It's generally, they know, people don't go to the doctor, they know, hey, if the doctors come in and they're giving me the time to do it, and they're encouraging me to do it, you're gonna get, in a municipality your size, you're gonna get 100 people easy that will do that. Generally, we pick dates, in a distant enough time where some promotion can go. A letter goes out and says, we have, when we have the examples, this entity coming, Baseline Health, and on these dates, we put it on the website, they can log in, they can call up. And then what we'd like to do is knowing what's gonna happen, is we'll book another date, maybe a month later, knowing that there'll be some follow-up ability, and then we could do, and if you put all 3, you might get, people that fill up that one, and then these 2 go empty. That's generally, what happens.
Now, obviously, I assume we choose the location, so we
Yeah.
might wanna have, when it's town hall, we might wanna have it here, but then we could put it over by the highway department
Yeah.
on that day.
Like we just at Rockville Center, we did one at Town Hall, we did one at the DPW, which is Highway Department, and we did one by their rec center. And that's, a standard thing, and
Just
others.
think if you're outside, people might, be more likely to come out.
Right, if they're just literally going from
Right.
work right in and then off, and,
Right.
you could bring, it's funny, I can't remember if it was District 6, so at Nassau, they have a lot of the sanitation districts, I think it was, where they actually sent a letter home. And what was funny was, we heard the story about how one of the workers, their spouse saw the letter, and she was like, are you going to the doctor? He's like, no, I'm not gonna. She's like, I eat right, I work out, I'm healthy. you know, they're pulling up your work, your boss is giving you an hour to go, and, you know, and they have, do you guys have task employment, or do you have, if your workers are done, do they stay the whole day? So some municipalities, it's task, but they go home.
Yeah, no.
Some, they, you know, they kind of.
They try to,
This was
but
one
we
where
don't
they,
let
right, yeah, we don't either, but this was, some do out in Nassau. This one didn't, and she was like, literally almost every day for about 3 hours, the gentleman is sitting, and she's like, you're sitting, and he ended up coming, so that was good, so, you know.
All right,
And then you have the one story about the gentleman that had serious health issues, and he didn't put anybody on his HIPAA form that they could notify, and
yes.
so his.
So this is an example, and this is what we, you know, I've been in healthcare for 25 years in the business of it. I've been doing this about 3 years, and just the passion of it. We had one of our first ones, and this was, I can't remember where it was, but it was a gentleman who had a massive thing that was on his report, like life-threatening. The nurse called. Finally, about 3 or 4 calls, no response. Doctor picks up the phone, and this is Dr. Ali Abafaris. I'm Assistant Chief of Endocardiology at New York Presbyterian Hospital. If you do not call me back, I am going to come to your house and, you know, and the guy called back and they got him the care he needed. But that's how we will not leave a stone unturned. We take it very personally, and we're very proud of the fact that, you know, if nothing else happens, I know that 20 or 30 people probably are, you know, are alive, or their quality of life is great because we do this. And it's gonna be, and it's more every day.
And you're right, well, I think in the end game, it's definitely a money saver to the whole health professional, because it's preemptive.
Absolutely.
I think it's a great idea, glad you brought it to the board.
So are we okay?
Pharmaceuticals was
Oh,
one.
Good with
are
it.
we okay with moving forward?
I think
Okay.
it's great,
Thank you.
preventative.
Who would be the main point of contact? Who would I work
You
with?
can contact my office,
Okay.
Patrick, my office,
Okay,
and we'll see
great.
how we move forward.
She's the cheapest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Thank you, nice meeting you.
Now we're gonna
Nice
paint.
meeting you.
Oh.
Thank you so much. Thanks, George.
Nice
Thank
meeting
you.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
Rich.
much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. And have a great summer.
Thank you.
I just went to
Yes.
the doctor in my life till I got married, and then I just wanted to outlive her.
Stop. She works in a doctor's office, that's why.
She does work.
All right, next for Big Belly Solar Compactor, do we?
Big belly,
I think Big Belly stole mine.
here comes Anne Marie.
This is very exciting, especially for us beachgoers. Right, Emery?
Yes.
I remember Mr. Grosso came one time, right? Andrew Gross?
This is, actually, this is the Big Belly, and they've
Yeah.
partnered with Verizon, and what they're
Yeah.
doing is they're saying, we're gonna provide you with a trash compactor that's solar operated.
With
that-
Wi-Fi and give you all that, right.
But it also has a cell antenna attached to it to where you can get service at the beach, where right now we can't, in Jamesport or in Iron Pier.
I know it's cold today.
Yeah, I'm well aware of these big belly things, because they're solar powered, and then they have a Wi-Fi which will alert to
Right.
the desktop when it needs to be emptied and when it don't need
Yeah,
to be emptied.
absolutely.
Can you guys just introduce yourselves because we're on camera?
Let me go first.
Yep.
Sharon Clifford, Engineering Department, well, Sanitation Department.
Drew Dillingham, engineering.
You work for us?
Well,
Karen Gross is now
You know
Sharon's
that?
office.
You didn't know that?
Anne Marie Prudenti, Town Attorney's office.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
So, actually, probably more than a year ago, we had explored big belly compactors. And at the time, Councilwoman Giglio and Drew wanted to address the solid waste stream at our parks. So Karen actually had done the research a year ago and then renewed her research about 3 months ago on the subject. Then, about a month and a half ago, we re-explored utilizing compactors in various locations of the town. And we had a meeting with representatives from Big Belly, and they came in. And after some back and forth, we believe we have a very good agreement, wherein we would roll out the telebellies at 2 locations, South Jamesport and Iron Pier. And so, Drew, I don't know if you want to talk about the compactors or?
Can I just ask one question? We have one of these downtown, correct?
Correct. It
How-
is, that is not a telebelly, that is a smart waste only. A
Right.
telebelly is a smart waste, plus the added component of the Wi-Fi.
Right, and when this company originally came to me, they said, we wanna put it in downtown Riverhead in the same location as the one that you have now that's not working properly. And I said, well, we don't have a need for cell service downtown. We have a need for cell service at the beaches, for emergency services, for 911, for Wi-Fi. So we went on a tour of all the beaches throughout town, and where they were only proposing to give us one, and now they're proposing to give us two. So it's really very clever, because our sanitation department, as we know, in the summertime, and being liaison to sanitation, we get a lot of phone calls that there's trash overflowing of the garbage pails, that the beaches need to be cleaned up, that the garbage is blowing down the street. And what's great about these solar compactors is that it actually has something inside of it that tells you when the capacity is full, when you need to go change it out. There's no cost to the town. It's completely installed and maintained directly by the company, which Anne Marie was very helpful in negotiating that. And I just think it'll make it easier for sanitation, because rather than running to every other day, as they're doing now, to the beaches, they'll know right on their cell phones, or Drew will know that it's getting full.
It's anticipated we can reduce the pickup
Right,
at each location
Yes.
in half.
thank you.
Right, I think it would save time on
Right.
pickup, but it would also
Right.
give us a better way of scheduling our men for optimal performance. They
So
know-
what we negotiated was free delivery of the equipment, free installation, free maintenance, free training. Soup to nuts. It's absolutely no cost.
How do they make money?
From the cellular.
From Verizon or
Correct.
AT&T and?
Just Verizon. I will
Verizon.
tell you, we had an option to negotiate rather than the maintenance, instead for a fee. But Drew and I went through the numbers, Karen did the research, and it really, Drew's confident it better serves us to go with them maintaining the unit rather than us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And don't forget, we're rolling it out at 2 locations. The goal is, Councilwoman Giglio really, if I could say this, was really keen on addressing the Wading River area. Because, there's a lot of complaints with boaters and emergencies. And hopefully, if these 2 locations are successful, they'll come and actually consider that location. That location requires a little bit more work. It probably can't sit on the existing platform, so that's why they really picked the 2 locations that they did.
It was Jamesport and what else?
Iron
Iron
Pier.
Pier.
So these were chosen for, can you name out the reasons that these 2 locations were chosen?
Well, I drove them around to to Jamesport Beach first, then across to Iron Pier, then to Wading River Beach. And they looked at where the wires were in the street and how far it would be, whether they would have to put another pole in order to bring another wire down, or.
These are freestanding?
They are freestanding, but they need
300
the,
pounds, they ain't going anywhere.
they need the lines, the electric, not lines, the
Fiber optic.
Wi-Fi, the fiber optic to get to the container. So these locations were the most conducive for that at this particular time, and when we were looking as to where we could site one at the Wading River Beach, it was more complicated. And as I said in the beginning, they were starting out with giving us one, and when they saw that there was room to site these units at Jamesport and then at Iron Pier, they agreed to give us 2.
Where's the planned spot?
So that's what I was gonna say. Ray Coyne and myself and a representative from Big Belly are gonna meet at the site and select the best locations for these.
My question is how many other trash cans are at Iron Pier and at Jamesport? Might we better off, because, so that people use them, so that we know that they're working, and, if you have the option of different trash cans, you may use something else, so you don't have to pull something down. Might we be better putting them at one location?
I went to,
mean
I mean,
putting
I,
it at
I
the
visit the Jamesport Beach, and the location that they were proposing at the Jamesport Beach was right outside of the bathrooms. So right there on the,
On the East Creek Marina side or on the?
no, on the beach side. So right outside the bathrooms, you're going to the bathroom, you throw your trash in, you go take a shower, you know, so it's en
Right
route
at the end of the
to.
boardwalk too.
Right. Yes.
Is there another one by the gazebo over there?
No, because they're only giving us two.
Is there one, is this between the gazebo and the bathroom or at the bathroom?
It's at the bathroom. When you walk
Close
out
to
the
the
bathroom,
bathroom.
it's 10 feet away.
There's a pole
Right.
right next to the bathroom,
Yes.
it's gonna be right there.
Yes.
But there's one in between, is there a trash can in between the gazebo and the bathroom? Isn't there a trash can there also?
I didn't think
On the
so.
boardwalk?
I
Well,
think there is one. in
that's
front
the
of it.
one that we cited, that we saw was there. There's one trash can right
Yeah,
outside
too
the
many
bathroom.
garbage pails.
The thing that I'm questioning, okay, yeah, like, how many of these will they put on for their cost? How many of these, will they do a whole park in these? Or that their self-service isn't
They cost
enhanced
about,
by then,
I
so.
think,
they'll-
20,000
what-
each?
Like three,
There are
four,
five,
four, or 5,000,
here.
right?
Village of Port Jeff paid $5,000 a pair. Now they have for one, their pair meaning one recycles plastic, glass, the other is for all
Other rubbish.
waste.
Plus they have
So-
to pay maintenance.
And they pay a maintenance fee, same as Town of Southold, they lease theirs. Their maintenance fee their lease is $187 a month per bin, on a 5-year lease. So it's costly.
No, I
in itself.
understand that. I'm
Right
just-
now,
I'm-
we're
I'm
getting
questioning
one
about you.
at each location, completely free of charge. I am very confident that, so the town of Riverhead is going to be the first to roll this out, this technology, the Telebelly. It doesn't exist on Long Island or New York City. We're gonna be the first. I am confident that they will continue to work with the town of Riverhead. I really am. The councilwoman took them on a tour of every facility that we have. In order to get it up and running, and they obviously want positive feedback from it, that's why these two locations were first selected, because they're the easiest and quickest to get up and running.
And you also, I mean, you could put an additional can at the Jamesport Beach, but you don't need the additional, you don't need a Telebelly, because the
Well,
Telebelly.
that's my question.
Yeah. Service.
It's the cell service for them. Whether somebody uses the trash can or not,
Right.
it's a cell service they get. So I'm wondering what benefit that is to them for the cell service monetarily. Is
Well,
basically because if you put one of these, basically we're letting somebody put a cell antenna at every single one of our beaches, whether somebody uses this trash can or
Well-
not. Because we still have to go there and do regular pickup because we have more than one can there. So I don't know how that eliminates what we're doing.
So why don't we eliminate the other cans?
Well, yeah, I
Yeah.
thought we were doing, the
Yeah.
way it reads is,
So they're getting a benefit, and what are we getting out of it? We're not reducing any trash pickup.
Yes,
no,
we
we
are.
are, that was
If
the
they
goal.
use the can.
Yeah,
But how many we have, wait, at Iron Pier Beach, how many trash cans we have? 7, 10?
No, there's probably about 5.
Okay, so we have 5 trash cans there. So we still have to go there and pick up as much as regular for those 5 trash cans.
But you're gonna get rid
Not-
of some of those.
Not if we eliminate
You're
the
gonna-
trash.
Well, that's my
You're gonna-
point,
yeah,
so
can
how,
you go over the
Centralized
volume,
location.
the size and the volume, the
Right, because it
compactors
has,
that they gave you?
right, because it has compactors.
Right.
So
Yeah,
you're
I
gonna
get,
collect.
I
You could
get all
also
that,
put up
I just,
signs
my
too
question
as well.
is, are people going to use these? You know, and they're getting the cell service out of it, so they're getting a benefit of it, we're still have to doing the same amount of trash pickup as we do, basically, we're just replacing one trash can here.
Well, based on our
You know what I'm
two
saying?
towns that
Yeah.
have
I'm
it,
just seeing down,
It's cut in half.
yeah.
if somebody goes and uses this can,
Right.
if they don't use this
If it's the
can,
only option available.
Yeah,
then
that's what
they'll
I'm saying,
use it.
that's my-
Exactly,
So
and
that's my
pursuing,
point.
but Drew, we
put
talked about
signs
this.
up then,
Exactly.
and indicate where the trash disposal location is.
so, but that's my point, so we know what our volume of trash is at the park, how much we do. So even if they just give us one compactor with the solar, I'm sure the solar is the expense on this, can they give us 2 other compactors so we have no other of our own trash cans there?
I thought the goal was, from the get-go, we were removing ours,
We are.
because the way I worded the contract, even in the site area, is I worded it that we're gonna locate them on the existing improved concrete areas at or in place of existing garbage receptacles.
So are we removing all of the other garbage receptacles? That's what I'm saying. We know what the
That's what I'm
volume of
saying.
trash is.
That was the
Yeah.
goal. Karen, don't you have
But
the
we also
figures
know people
regarding
Yeah.
that?
aren't gonna walk to
mean-
just one trash can in all of Iron Pier Beach. You need more than one trash can there, correct?
Why?
Because people tend to, when we went on the tour the other day, we were asking about the trash cans, and people, you know, everybody, you guys were saying that if you don't have a conveniently located trash cans, people tend to just dispose of their trash other than in a can.
Unless there's signage that says the
Right.
garbage cans
Well,
only
if
say.
you're-
So
most
we
people walk
would
past
have
the
one of the-
pavilion to get out.
Because that's important.
Yeah, well, I spoke with the Village of Port Jefferson and Town of Southold. Village alone, they went from using 134 regular garbage containers through the village, down to 20 of the
But-
dual compactors.
But they have no other trash cans except for the compactors.
Yes.
That's what I'm
because they
saying.
That was gonna
purchased
be
them
our
all,
goal,
and that's a
though.
big expense. This is just a pilot program,
That's what I was gonna ask.
basically. They're rolling this out for the town of
Well,
Riverhead
that's why I was saying.
to see if it's gonna
Right.
work,
Should we
and
not
then
put-
move forward.
Should we not put 2 at one beach and eliminate all the other cans? That's my point.
Do you think
You
we
don't have to
need
pay for
two
that.
based upon the volume?
And remove all the other
No.
cans.
And I don't know if that,
I wouldn't.
Truthfully, you have to speak on it, Drew. You know the volume better than any of us at this table. I thought the one compactor, what's the size we're getting and the compaction rates?
And then all the other cans are removed at the beach.
Yeah.
And was that your understanding, Drew?
Yes,
Okay.
And it's a pilot.
And
That's
We're gonna
fine.
try
Wait,
it and see if it works.
yes,
exactly.
And
if
I
it
wanna
doesn't
point
work,
out-
we can put the cans back.
and Drew will back me up on this, the quote, tower is
20 feet.
20 feet from the ground. So our buildings, the peak of our buildings are approximately what?
Probably about close to the same. maybe.
Exactly.
What, are they putting a micro cell up?
What?
I'd say
Technology-wise, I'm not.
There's a little, there's a little.
Alright,
solar
So you're
panel.
really not gonna see it. In addition, the town board should be aware, they're not allowed to, like a typical cell tower, they cannot collate on it. Councilwoman Giglio had me put in the agreement, and when I spoke to them yesterday, they agreed. In the event they wanted to co-locate and put another carrier on, guess what?
We get paid.
Now the town starts getting revenue off it. Right now, Drew really wanted them to maintain it. They're gonna train us and let us get a feel for if it works for us and if it's beneficial and,
Now,
So-
we're using the beaches as locations because those are outward places that have Wi-Fi
Yes.
shortages, is that what?
Yes.
That's what
Right.
when they wanted to put it downtown, I said, we don't have a need for
I'd
it
certainly like
downtown.
to eventually see it all downtown.
We don't need the Telebelly though. We would need the solar compactors on Main Street. We don't
Well,
need
Telebelly
the,
too, I like the
Well, the Telebelly is a more expensive piece of equipment because
I
it
know.
does have the cell,
But I
so
like the
I
fact
think
that
you'd have to add.
sanitation
that.
come in the morning and go on their laptop and it will ping.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, that one's 3/4 full, we better get out, I mean, it
Yeah.
can
That's
really set their
exactly
whole
what
day
it's
up,
gonna do.
instead of just running all over the place
Yes.
emptying
A
tissue
really
mix.
big
Right.
point to these though, and especially at the beaches, is the birds take the garbage and shred it all over the place.
Yeah, no.
When it's in a telebelly, the bird cannot have access to that garbage. So
Otherwise-
that's gonna also save
they
our,
might,
our
'cause they
workers
might be on
spend a
their cell
lot of
phone waiting for
time,
somebody to
not
open it,
only
and then they'll
emptying the
jump in.
garbage, but cleaning up the areas around it from stuff that the birds have pulled out and dragged around.
Okay.
So the birds will not have access to this, and it's gonna make for a cleaner beach. I
right,
really
and
do
while
think
they claim a proprietary interest in all the data that comes out from the Telebelly and the compactor unit, they have agreed that all information regarding volume and all reports regarding tonnage will be provided to our engineering department, and we can use that as
And
part of
that's-
our solid waste
Yep.
management plan.
Okay.
and that gives us another point.
Right,
When we
exactly.
submit it to the DEC
Right.
saying, we're now tracking our garbage at the town
Can
beaches.
they move them in the wintertime when there's nobody at the beach?
Yeah, and from an environmental point of view, Karen had done research on the benefits that are recited.
Yeah, there's several benefits.
And there's no
And
safety
we went through most of
concerns,
them.
Drew,
Right.
with the cell
We-
tower?
I'm sorry?
Any kind of safety concerns
No,
with the cell
because
tower?
we're planning on putting the units right up against the building.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll have the building as a backdrop and no one's really gonna have access to it.
And another thing that's cool about it is if you wanted to put like what the tide is doing that day or what the current is, you could put flag on top of the cell tower that says, you know, it's rip tide today, or it's whatever we have, whatever the scenario may be as far as the conditions for the water.
So where are the towers going exactly? Or they're
We don't
attached
know
to the.
They're attached to the garbage
They're
cans.
attached to the garbage
Yeah.
cans, okay.
And he and Ray, Drew said he and Ray
Yes,
were gonna
yeah,
pick the
yeah.
spot, right?
Yes.
Right, that's what I was looking at.
But I've spoken to a lot of my friends and a lot of people that boat at the Jamesport Beach, and cell service is a big problem, especially when your kids are trying to reach you and you're sitting on the boat and you have no cell service there. So I think it's also a benefit to our Jamesport community and our Iron Pier community that kids will be able to get in touch with them, they'll be able to get in touch with their kids or spouses, whomever.
These will be single units or a double unit considered one? Okay, so we'll have recyclables
No,
and.
no, one unit for the garbage
Yeah.
collection,
Yeah.
and
One
one the
for
other
the-
side is for the cellular equipment.
This is the
that goes
cellular
inside of it.
Single
equipment,
street.
this is all.
I think our beaches should be
Right.
cell-free
Okay.
areas anyway.
So
Leave
this
your
will
cell
just be for
phone
general
home.
rubbish, it won't
Enjoy
be
your
for
family for a
recyclables.
change.
Okay.
Get off that damn phone.
And so, the only final thing was, and just in case you were wondering, this is going to be a lease agreement. And under the law, we are not required to competitive bid a lease agreement. We are leasing the equipment, and
With everything paid for.
everything, maintenance, everything.
All right, it'll be nice to see how it turns out. I just wanna make sure that the other garbage cans aren't there, because it doesn't really work as a pilot program if we
Right.
realize that we have to have 5 other garbage cans too.
Exactly.
So the day these go in, the other garbage cans get removed.
And Ray already knows about this, you were in touch with Ray about
I
this?
did
Yes.
talk to him about this.
So to Karen.
And he's all okay with it? Okay. So do we need to have signs made up through maybe highway or something, just to notify people that where the trash is?
Well, it depends. It could be in the exact location that we're currently using, so.
That's
But
where
we're
they're
removing 4 or 5 cans out of each spot.
Right.
We're
Yeah.
removing 4 or 5 cans
I'll have
from
to go
each
look. I don't know
single
how many cans are down there.
beach.
Do you want this?
Right, but these are gonna be sitting in its place.
No, but there's 4
Potential.
other cans that no longer have something sitting in its place,
Well,
that's what I'm saying.
Maybe we could just put it out, I don't know that we wanna put up signs all over the beach saying dispose of your trash 200 feet that way, or.
Please fill the belly.
Not so much, but
Fill our belly.
either
So
whether
we
there's
tell
a
our belly.
flag that says, you know, if you're gonna put a flag up here, I would say that somehow identify that that's the trash can. People can see it from a distance.
Right there in the middle of the board,
Yeah.
check our sign code.
Yeah.
Give a hoot, don't pollute.
There you go, come up with those
Yeah,
slogans.
come up with a slogan.
All right, very good.
It doesn't sound original.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good job. I can't wait to see it so everybody can not enjoy their family, just play with their phones.
Sometimes there's some,
Just wanted to
Uh,
hand something
yeah,
out
right.
on stage.
Then get off the beach.
This is a
Thank you.
summary
Bye,
of,
thank you.
garage status right now and what we've accomplished in the last 4 months.
Okay, thank you.
You guys can read this at your leisure.
thank you, Drew.
we? Myself, Mike Curtis, and Jamie.
But Gio's getting the big bucks. What are you doing this for?
Well, the thing is, we've addressed every single item except, well, all garage items we've addressed that were on the audit in 2015. The first year we did 11,
Okay.
and then this last 4 months, we did the last 5.
Look forward to reading it. Thank you.
Scheduled the manholes for May 23rd,
Okay.
and then
What kind are you having, what kind are you having put in there?
manholes for
You did the covers you're talking about?
Yeah.
What covers are you getting?
What are we paying Gio?
Are they Wi-Fi?
They're required under the state laws,
I know,
specific.
I'm just,
just standard
I know,
manhole
we've been
covers.
because there's another kind with, are you having, the seals are getting changed, that's the one where the seals are getting changed
Yeah.
for the water?
Yeah.
We've been working
Start
on it.
next week.
Just give a call to Gio, because we looked at some other ones that are, I don't know if they're the same ones
He
that.
was involved in those.
Okay, all right, because we went and looked at a bunch of other ones just because for the water seepage, there was a different kind of ring or something like that that could be used. It was an updated
He's
one.
well aware of this.
That's fine then, because he looked at the other ones also.
And then June 4th, the second island is going in.
Good job.
Nice.
June 4th.
All right,
It's the
but
first
who,
week
you,
in June.
did you talk to Gio about that also?
Yeah.
All right.
Mike's been keeping.
I'm gonna have
you
him
know,
come back, cause I don't, let's see if we need the second island, if we're gonna do something different, and how that's being done, because are you getting the used pumps, or are you getting new pumps?
It's a new island,
Right, all right,
so we're getting everything new because the old ones are shot.
okay, all right, let me just look, cause there's some that you can order that are off,
Reconditioned.
reconditioned, that are much less,
Okay.
there's a bunch of other stuff. Okay, all right, so you didn't order them yet, right?
Yeah, they're coming in, they're,
And you reviewed that with Gio, or you?
yeah.
And he was okay with the new ones?
Okay with it.
All right, let me call him and talk to him, because we
Okay.
went over and looked.
Yeah, we've talked about it, he's talked about it with Mike as well.
All right. All right, we also wanted to see about some of the gas, a different, system for the gas, maybe. Okay,
Okay.
all right, thank you. All right, first
Well,
and,
the system is coming, you said, right? I mean, you're planning on putting it in on June 4th, so.
no, that's the manhole covers, not the island.
No, other way around, manhole covers
Everything.
are the 23rd.
Of
and the
June.
island-
May,
No, 23rd of May,
next week.
and then June 4th, I believe it is, when the second
Okay.
island goes.
All right. Thank you. All right, first and second to go into executive session for, Riverhead, Volunteer Ambulance Company contractual provisions, telecom data service contractual provisions, litigation, 200 Meeting Road litigation, pending litigation in the matter of Town of Riverhead versus Creek Road, personnel matters leading to the temporary hiring of an employee, matters leading to the hiring of a part-time employees, matters leading to the hiring of full-time employees, and a grievance hearing.
Oh, my word, oh Friday. I'll move
You're
it.
gonna get out of here by 12, right?
Yes, we're getting out of here by 12.
You ain't getting out of here.
So Jim, you're not allowed to talk.